Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Sunday chat today. We'll wander around aimlessly like it often does. Orchid Society meeting yesterday. Hibiki went out to play and got one of those, which is very good. I think I've had 2 firsts and a second this year, because it's obviously on the day, you know, there's a first, second and third sort of thing, but points are awarded to the first, second and third in the 2 categories, and they're accumulated through the year, and then at the end of the year, when we have our AGM, the overall winner for the whole year is actually announced. And I forgot to say, I was going to suggest that we put a monetary prize to try and encourage more people to bring plants in. I totally forgot. Another time maybe. There's a lot of people missing yesterday, and you've heard about my good friend Alan. I filmed his grow spaces. He hosts our garden, him and his wife host our garden party. He's not well at all. He's been in hospital like three sessions, and he was in hospital yesterday. They're hoping to get him out on Monday or Tuesday, as far as I'm aware, but yeah, he's not well at all. He spent 2 periods in hospital trying to find out what the hell was wrong, and sent him home without really knowing, which is, it's just not, imagine the worry, you know, when you're ill enough to be hospitalised, you know, so anyway, I've got that to deal with. All he's worried about is, are his orchids okay? Not is he okay, like just worried about his orchids. It's typical of him though. He's one of those who doesn't like to quit. Well, he doesn't quit, he soldiers on, which is part of the problem, I think. Anyway, there's that. The next thing to do with the Orchid Society is actually our show, which normally would be the 2nd Saturday of October, but it's actually right at the end. It's actually the last Saturday in October now, so we had to move it. So I haven't got anything to do with the Society for some time now, although I have got to organise the photographic competition. I've got to get that. I've got to compose an email, you know, a concise email. My emails are not like this, waffling away. They tend to be almost bullet points on how we're going to go about this. But we are inviting the members to send their photos in. They can send in up to 4, and we will rationalise. Once we get the rules from the BOC, British Orchid Council, as to, you know, how many people can submit, which I still haven't been able to find out. Once we get the information like that, then we can decide what to do. But what we think we'll be doing is that people can send in up to 4, and we will rationalise them down to 2. If people only send 1 or 2, then they'll just be sent off. So that's it. We have got a weather warning out for this afternoon, so it's just starting to spot the rain now. But we've got a wind warning for the whole of the flipping country, basically. But it's PM, and at the moment it's 3 minutes to PM. It's nearly lunchtime. Yes, I did have a look at the day lengths and stuff, and it's we are in the period where our maximum rate of change is applicable. That goes over quite a few weeks. It's not just like, you know, a one-day event. It goes over quite a long period of time. We're also nearly down to 12.5 hours, only just above 12.5 hours, and that's from sunrise to sunset, so that's not usable light. The usable light, you can knock an hour off, half an hour each end. So we're down to 11.5 hours, and we will be down to 11 hours very shortly. And once we drop below 11 hours, virtually all the orchids we go are tropical orchids. And they're used to day lengths in their makeup, you know, in their sort of genetics, of between 11 and 13 hours. That's what they get where they live. Because the nearer the equator you are, the less the day length varies. So, you know, once we drop down below 11 hours, they're starting to get out of their comfort zone. So a lot of them will slow right down. Some even stop altogether. You know, once you start getting down below 10 hours, which we do in this country, we get below 8, you know. And that's a very, very short day. As I say, if sunrise and sunset allow 8 hours, you can knock at least an hour off of that to 7. Plus in the UK winter, you've got a lot of days like today where it's just totally overcast, just cloudy, so that cuts the light down again. So light levels are, you know, getting thin on the ground, a bit short. So there's quite a few people were well impressed with my Cymbidium with 13 blooms, 13 spikes, and quite a few annoyed that I didn't bring it in. And I did say it's possibly still got some scales, so, you know, I certainly wouldn't have been able to put it on the competition tables. It would have had to have stayed well separate, and you know, some people would have frowned on the fact that I even bought it in the door, so so it stayed at home, which is a shame. But I will have to sit down, perhaps do one every couple of days, and just sit down and go over every single leaf with the cotton wool buds and some rubbing alcohol, and just wipe them all off. You know, every leaf. You have to start at a given point and like possibly go round and do all the top sides, and then raise the plant up a bit and go round and do all the undersides, or just do each leaf in turn, top and bottom, onto the next one, sort of thing. But I mean, if you look at that, I mean, I could do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's roughly seven leaves per pseudo bulb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, there's over a dozen pseudo bulbs. So how many leaves is that? And that's just one plant. You know, okay, it's one of the bigger ones, but yeah. So it would be a big job to remove the scale completely. I'm pretty confident they're dead now. You know, they had the systemic spray, and now I've started using the hot box as well. Oh, and on the subject of kit here, we're on winter settings now. Believe it or not, when I came down this morning at very silly o'clock, not silly o'clock, very silly o'clock, I'll do that in a minute, the heater was on. So we've started, you know, the heater is required. And it won't be every night, but last night was forecast to be a chilly night, so chilly start to the day, all that sort of stuff. So the heater, I think it came on 3 times from when I got up, and we'll go to the very silly o'clock at just gone 2 o'clock in the morning. I got up. I was very tired when I got home from the Orchid Society, and I've got all the stuff in from the car and everything, and I don't have a meal on the Orchid Society meeting days, because I always have a later breakfast, and I actually have things for lunch that I would not normally have. I mean, I had a cheese and pickle sandwich on some nice, what do they call it, well, a type of brown bread. I think it was a rye bread or something, but very nice. And I had a chicken tikka slice, which is like a sort of pasty type thing. So that's way over the top for what I would normally have for lunch. And then of course 2 bits of cake at the Orchid Society. So on meetings days I don't have a meal when I get home. I just perhaps have a snack, you know, a little packet of cheesy biscuits or something like that, just a snack. But I fell asleep on the settee where I was tired for over 2 hours. Well, that's 2 hours of sleep my brain is saying I don't need overnight then, because you've already had it sat in the chair. So yeah, basically I woke up, I needed to go to the loo anyway, that was about 1:45, and I just could not get back to sleep. So in the end I thought, well, I'll just get up then. You know, I'm sure I'd find something to do. I mean, I had all the Orchid Society money to sort out from yesterday. We've started taking the names for our Christmas meal, so you know, I've got get the names and the money and everything. I've got to make sure the cash balance is, sort the raffle out, put the float back in the tin, work out what's left. update the spreadsheet for all the figures, you know, as treasurer. So I got on and cracked on and did all that and got the money ready for banking tomorrow. So that was useful time, you know. That took me up to about 3:30. And then of course I had my comments to do, which, you know, they normally get done between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. So that was that. But yeah, and there's a few other people's videos to watch as well. So yeah, used the time reasonably well, I'd say. Not totally wasted anyway, but it would have been if I'd stayed in bed, because I just could not get back to sleep. So Mojo couldn't work out quite what was going on, because obviously his time clock, his body clock, what are you getting up for now? It's not my breakfast time. So I'm supposed to wake you up at 4 o'clock for breakfast. You're not supposed to wake me up. Poor old Mojo. Yeah, so yeah, things are changing out here. So the heater is permanently on winter setting now. So it's on the thermostat to my winter setting, which I got the real thermometer out here. I did discuss this before. I've got a little gadget over there, these cheap and cheerful things. They're about £8 on eBay, and they give you the temperature in centigrade or old-fashioned, only used in 1 or 2 countries in the world, I believe. You know, it's that old-fashioned. The rest of the world use centigrade, but you can switch it between the two. It also gives the humidity, which is what I get it for. And it's got a clock on it as well, which you can have 12 or 24 hours. So for a cheap little gadget, it's actually relatively sophisticated. You know, you can change the temperature between the two, change the clock between 12 and 24 hours. Of humidity you can't touch. It's got an alarm on it if you want to use that sort of thing. Yeah, so that temperature on there reads about 1 degree colder than it actually is, whereas this thermostatic control for the heater reads 2 degrees high. So at the moment, that one over there says 17, the one I just showed you. This one here says 20. Yeah, so the actual temperature in here at the moment is 18, and that's my high. That's my daytime high. So there's 2/3 of the orchids in here are loving it, because that's what they want. But they wouldn't be happy if it was 18 degrees all the time. You do need that differentiation between day and night. And in centigrade terms, 3 degrees is about the minimum you can get away with. So to get my minimum of 12 degrees, I've actually got the thermostat set at 14. Because it reads 2 degrees high. So it seems higher than, you know, than it perhaps ought to be, but that's how it works. And I've also set up the dehumidifier on, and that's left on permanently now. But it depends what's going on out here. If I've just watered everything, obviously the humidity shoots up, and overnight with the temperature drop, that thing kicks in, because I was coming down here between 95 and 100% humidity, you know, and all the windows fogged up. That it's going to cause some rot. That's too high. It's not, you know, it shouldn't be that high. So the dehumidifier is permanently on now, and that's set to 75 because it reads a bit low. You know, that's a more accurate way. So it's set at 75, and it's got a 3 degree differential either way. So when the humidity gets to 75 plus 3, it kicks on and takes it down to 75 minus 3. So you've got a 6 degree total differential there. So when it does kick on, that's non-adjustable on this one as well. I'd have a narrower you know, differential if I could, but I can't. It's non-adjustable. Because 6 is quite high, and it can take 20 minutes or even half an hour to drop the humidity that much, but it is pretty efficient. And it's at the moment it's filling the tank up. There's an internal tank, I think it holds 2 litres, something like that, or 2.5, I've forgotten. But it fills the tank up in between 3 and 4 days, so I haven't got to empty it like every day or anything. And it's got an auto cut off. Once the tank's full, it shuts down, so you know, you don't get water all over the floor. Yes, so the kit's on the go now, so obviously the old electricity bill's going to start going up a bit. And obviously as we head into winter, the colder it gets, the more the heater will get used. As I say, that's a 2 kilowatt heater with a, you know, with an attached fan, so it does gobble it up a bit. But it's very efficient. You know, it's a 1 degree differential on the heater thermostat, so I've got it set to 15. When it drops to 14, but the instant it drops to 13, it kicks the heater on. It isn't actually 13 degrees, it's 13.999999, so it's as near as, damn it, the bottom end of 14. And then it takes it up to 16, and as soon as it hits 17, which is effectively 16.00001, a fraction above 16, it kicks off again. So it's got that 2 degree differential, degree either side. So yeah, so that's, as I say, that will start using the old power a bit more. But then I've got away with not having to pay for much power during the summer months. But I'd class the summer months in the UK, as far as my grow room is concerned, is only 5 months. It's not 7, it's 5. There's 7 months of, not winter, but need for nighttime heat. Yeah, so yeah, so that sort of starts September. I don't think we started with the heater until October last year, and that heater probably won't come on now. It might not come on for a couple of weeks, literally that long, but it certainly kicked in last night. It was much colder last night. I actually put the heating on when I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I thought, whoa, that's a bit nippy round the shoulders. So that's, again, that's the first. That's the first time the actual house heating's been on. So yeah, it's coming to that time of year basically. I wonder if we'll get a really bad cold winter with snow and, you know, dangerous roads and all that sort of stuff, or whether it'll be wet, or whether it'll be neither. I mean, we've started blinking do winter talk now, which is silly. We're not even in the middle of September yet. You know, we could have one of the, what do they call it, an Indian summer, where you have a very late start to the autumn. So summer, I was going to say drags on, but keeps going, and you actually get some quite pleasant weather there. The days get short, but it's still warm if the sun comes out. You know, we might get some of that. That'll save on electricity. Not that there's much sunshine at night. I've spoken to my son, because I had to speak to him about his son's birthday, which is coming up at the beginning of October, about what to get him sort of thing, and he's going to send me a couple of links of things that I can get. There's no point in me trying to get something that's wrong, because he won't play with it. You know, so it's got to be something that he likes and you know, is going to play with, sort of thing. So I get told what to get basically. And I'll take that over. But I spoke to Tony about the decking, and he's up for that. So over a 2-day period, but not consecutive days. So I might have to go and get him. But he's they live in a motor van, motorhome. They don't have a house or a flat. But they've got into a circle of house sitters, which means they don't have to be in the van all the time. And they've got one coming up which is in the New Forest, so it'll be a lot closer to me, because I might have to go and get him and then take him back again at the end of the day. But that remains to be seen. And that house sit starts shortly and is for a relatively short period of time, but if it all works out well, then they should get the house again for a couple of weeks over Christmas, which would be good, you know, so they can have guests round and things. So. But that remains to be seen. So, but yes, he's quite happy to bring his tools and everything, most of which are high performance battery powered, so I haven't got to worry so much about cables down the garden and everything. But yeah, he's quite happy to come and help out, strip it all down, find out what's wrong, chat about it and everything, and then go away. And in the meantime, I'll clean the decking boards up, get any replacement timber that we're going to need, which will be the support joists, I expect. I think they're shot to pieces, which is why it's starting to collapse. I'm going to disappear down a hole out there one day. But that's why I've left it till the end of the summer, because I won't be sitting out in the garden because the weather won't be nice enough to do that. So that's the time to fix the decking. Obviously the weather can be an inconvenience because neither of us are working in the rain. That ain't happening. So we've got to find a day when Tony's not working and is free to come over, and the weather is predictably going to be dry for that day. So that shouldn't be too difficult to work out. And then a couple of weeks or whatever later, we'll have another day to put it back together again. And I'll get some decking oil and actually get it fixed up reasonably well. And any materials that I get, I will keep the receipts, because I know there's some people, their brains are whizzing round. Why are you having to do all this? That should be the landlord's job. I'll say it again, the landlord won't spend money. If I say that the decking's falling apart and needs some work, she'll say, well, don't use it then. She'd be quite happy to let it fall apart. She doesn't live here. She lives in Qatar, I think it is, or whatever. No, there's a nice subject to talk about. I can't believe that. That is outrageous. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you don't need to. But most people would. Absolutely outrageous. That country just does, well, it's not the country, it's the leaders. More than one, but one main one, and some others that are, together on the whole thing. And just to sum it up, because I'm not going to do a politics thing, but to sum it up, as far as I'm concerned, that individual has just shot all chances of peace in the foot. Just in one stroke. Deliberately planned, because he doesn't want peace. It's the same as the other bugger, who's now started launching drones into NATO countries. And what are we doing? Huffing and puffing. Of course, that's all we're good at. Huffing and puffing. Have we done anything yet? Well, actually, yes. But they're not talking about it a lot, but yeah, things have actually been done. Yeah. That could get well out of hand as well, if it isn't already. This stupid world we live in. I don't know, all blinking protests all through London over yesterday. Tens of thousands of people protesting that we've lost our free speech. And to a degree we have. Blatantly, government passed laws that certain expressions and certain things can't be used in social media. You will actually be arrested and could go to jail for putting some words in something like Facebook. What is it coming to? I don't know. Still, you could bury your head in the sand, I suppose, and just ignore it all. There's not much you can do about any of it. So, but yeah, there's quite a few policemen were injured. The trouble is, I've watched them, because you get drone shots and things, and people from higher places with mobile phones doing shit like that. They push and shove. And somebody noticed, because you had an anti-protest, so you had two entirely different protests right close together at loggerheads. Totally different ends of the spectrum on the subject, if you see what I mean. And over here, on the people that were objecting to that lot, ordinary policemen, ordinary clothes, representing a quiet, peaceful protest. protest if you just watch the film. And then over here, riot shields, battens out, big masks on, almost military style for the other protest, implying that they're troublemakers and they're the bad people. The police were giving that impression, not the people. Somebody noticed that. Yeah. If you go out prepared for trouble, the chances are you will incite it. But they push. They get big long lines, 2 or 3 deep, and they start walking. And they push people. And it's a crowded place. Well, if you're near the front, do you want to be pushed? Because I wouldn't. So some people object. A bit more strongly than perhaps some of the others did. I feel sorry for the police effectively, because they're doing what they're told to do. They might not even agree with it. They might not want to, but they just get told. They brought 500 police in from other areas of the country. They had 1,500 police in London for those 2 protests. At our cost. We paid for that. I don't live in London. I wasn't protesting. But it comes out of taxpayers' money. I don't know. Very rarely you can find anything nice to say. You know, there's people still coming across in the boats. They shouldn't be, that's illegal. They still haven't done much about it. They keep promising they're going to fix that. Mind you, there's lots of people make promises they're going to fix things and don't actually do it. And a lot are no flipping different. Right, we wandered off. Sorry, back again. What else? What's going on? We've got 2 proposed videos this week, you know, ones that are regular events. We've got a members only video to do, which is for the higher tiers. So I can invite people that are on the basic tiers. You might want to consider going up one. Then you get access to every members only video. Just a thought. I know times are hard for a lot of people, and you know, I feel lucky that I've got members at all, you know. I can't afford to be members on lots of channels. That would be a bit silly, wouldn't it? I need members to pay me money to go and be a member somewhere else. It'd be a bit daft, wouldn't it? But yeah, we've got one of those videos to do, and we've also got a Project Orchids video to do. There's a quick teaser. One of the plants is no longer with us, and I've replaced it with virtually the same thing. You'll have to wait and see, won't you? That's obviously the Project Orchids is available to everybody. That's not a restricted access one. Yeah, so we've got those 2 videos to do, and for those of you who followed the gardening channel when I first started, obviously that's when a lot of the heavy work was done, and then I started a bonsai channel, and I had 3 channels on the go at one point, and in the end it wasn't worth it, because the other 2 channels as separate entities were never really going to do much. And I managed to get the... which one did I get? One of them I managed to get monetized, so I managed to get enough subscribers and watch hours and everything to get it monetized. And another bright idea from Hannah, she said, why don't you merge them together as a single monetized channel, which is what I did. So it's now a gardening and bonsai video. But in the early days, what I was, as now a monetized channel, what I was doing was going back into what became the old gardening channel to pick up some of the major events videos and reload them onto the new gardening and bonsai channel. So they got reloaded onto YouTube. What I was doing was I was downloading them and bringing them into my software and put a little introduction on the front. And that worked quite well, because a lot of people had joined in later down the road and didn't see all those big jobs getting done. You know, the tree coming down and hacking that bamboo to pieces. First time we ended up doing this wisteria, which was halfway up the tree and totally taken over the hedge. You know, I disappeared in the hedge. The video's quite comical really, because you see me disappear into the hedge and lots of leaves shaking and rattling and stuff like that, and then a huge branch would come out. It's quite a funny video really, and it was speeded up. It was a Benny Hill jobby as well. So, but yeah, how about that idea, especially when times are thin and there's not much to film, to go back and get some of the videos from my old place and look at some of the orchids I used to have around there. Sort of like a blast from the past, because that's what we called the ones on the gardening channels. So do the same on this channel. Go and get some clips, not necessarily whole videos, but go and get some clips from, you know, perhaps 6-7 years ago, round the other place. It was a whole different set of plants round there. A lot of the sort of stuff I'm growing now, I wouldn't have been able to grow round there. And bring those clips forward and set them up as a new video on here as a blast from the past. Say what you think. Would you be interested in that sort of thing? Obviously you're looking at orchids that in the main I no longer have, but they're still orchids, and the videos possibly have got care guides included within them, I think. Memory's not that good, 6 or 7 years ago. But yeah, as an idea, I could perhaps do one of those a week. The workload's quite high for it, and I don't know whether I'm going to get a limitation. I've got some software that's free for 10 goes. But I don't know whether it's 10 goes in totality or whether it's 10 goes over a time period, like a week or something like that. If it's for a week, then it'll be fine. But basically it allows you to download YouTube videos in their entirety at the highest possible resolution. So if it's been loaded in Super HD or anything like that, it'll download it at that quality. So you don't lose anything. Maintains stereo soundtracks, all that sort of stuff. So it's a good bit of software for a freebie. But as I said, you're only allowed, because last time I used it, it said you have 9 free goes left. It reminded me that, you know, there's only 10 available. But I think it's 10 a week. Well, if I only do 1 a week, it'll reset each time. Otherwise I'll just go and find another free bit of software. So YouTube have changed the way you've got a function, because I'm on premium on YouTube, and as a premium member on YouTube you can download videos so that you can watch them offline, but it encodes them and puts them in a place where you can't actually physically get at them. You can watch them, you can select them from a list and watch them without having an internet connection. Brilliant, but you can't actually physically get at them. So you can't like copy them anywhere or edit them or do anything with them. So it's lock them away basically, which is a nuisance, which means I have to do it a different way. But as an idea, some blasts from the past, so looking at some of the plants I used to have, and obviously they'd be video clips, so there'd be chat about the orchids, you know, all that sort of stuff. Does that sound interesting? You know, if people are sort of saying, no, I'm only interested in the ones you've got currently, then obviously that's not going to work for them. But for others, they might be well interested in that sort of thing. I mean, in some of those videos I actually look quite young. Got hair down here in some of them as well. But yeah, say what you think. Does that sound like a good idea? And it'll be a nice filler. As I say, it's a bit of a faff because I've got to download the flipping thing. Then I'd have to get it into the editing software to create effectively a new video to be able to upload, do a little introduction, and I'd probably have to add some pop-ups to explain some of the things that are going on. Because obviously, you know, if it was 5 or 6 years ago, totally different layout the other place. Anyway, as an idea, so there's that. I've got no new blooms to show you today. Well, actually I have. I don't know whether I should show you though. My Victoria Regina dendrobium has pushed a bloom out. Now, this is not a happy plant, and that is not a happy bloom. Far from it. That's nothing like what it should be. It's very weak. But it proves there's life in that cane. But there's no life at the base of this plant. There's no greenery, there's no new growth, and it hasn't pushed a new growth up for a very long time. This growth here, which is still growing, sorry I'm off camera, just about, is in fact a kiki, because it doesn't actually come from the real base of the plant. It comes about 1.5 centimetres up from the base. And then there's another kiki here which is growing quite well, which is based here, which has actually sat in some moss to try and get some roots to grow. If I can get some roots on that kiki, I've got a new plant. Okay, it'll be a young plant, it'll be 3 years off blooming, but at least I'd have a plant that's actively growing, which I haven't got at the moment. But you can see, you know, this is a kiki. Look where that one starts. And that's a big old cane, that's bloomed many times. You see the stumps, so you know. So kikis do bloom, you don't have to necessarily remove them on this dendrobium anyway. So yeah, we've got a funny little bloom on there. Oh, and I'll show you this as well, because this is this did something strange. This doesn't live there, that's why it's being awkward. You live down there in the shade. Get down there. This dendrobium here, which pushed up the spike, this is Speciosa Burnham, and I'd forgotten it does this. So it pushes up the spike with what looks like sheaths and the buds sticking out the top, when in actual fact this is a bloom. This is the next one, it's sequential, so when this one drops off and dies, this one will move, and it might even produce another one on top of that. And there's another one round here, so there's two. But yes, so this is actually a bud, and that's not far off opening now. These blooms are big. If you look at the size view, nearly as long as my finger, well, the size of the bloom is double that, because obviously that's sepals. The bud is effectively the sepals. So it's quite a large bloom. Lovely colour as well. Lovely sort of peachy colour. So that's to come, but not yet. Not far off though. I think, you know, that should be open in the next few days. And those of you who saw the hot box setup, we've got a wire across here. Now I've had to kink it and bend it so I don't. Basically, I came out and walked into it and which wasn't funny at the time because it was getting dark. I've come to let Mojo back in and nearly garroted me flipping neck. Yeah, so I put some kinks in it, which obviously when the hot box goes back on next time, which will be one of the days next week, it'll pull it down again and sort of straighten it out. It's only thin wire, doesn't need to be strong. The hot box is not that heavy, not really. Yeah, so I'm planning on doing 3 hot box sessions a week apart. So we'll have another session next week and then another one the week after. Now next weekend I've got nothing on. You know, no trips out, nothing like that. I chatted to Lynn about this potential trip to RHS Rosemore for the event, the Orchid. It's an orchid event, it's classed as. It's being organised by the Devon Orchid Society, but there's quite a few orchid societies will be there, and quite a few traders are going to be there as well. So it's an orchid event, but it's in a country estate. RHS Rosemore is like, well, it's like a mini version of RHS Wisley, really, but without all the research facilities and stuff. So, but it's got gardens and laid out gardens. It's probably got some water features and stuff. So. Yeah, so it could be a really nice day out, but it is in the middle of October, so the weather could be a bit iffy. But the orchid event is an indoor event. Obviously looking around the gardens and doing some filming in the gardens would be weather dependent. But I chatted to Lynn, and at the moment it doesn't look like anybody else is interested from Wessex. is interested in going to help with the judging. It's quite a long way. So Lynn said if she's not already there because of the judging, then she'll come with me, in which case I will definitely be going. If Lynn doesn't come with me, I will have to stop and think about it. It's a long drive to do both ways on your own. You know, I'll get the old CDs on and lose my voice again like I usually do. I'm getting to use the CDs more often. I had a CD on the way yesterday, not on the way back, but on the way there. I have a sing-song and sing along. If I do it more often, then I won't get a sore throat every flipping time. Yes, you've got a voice, use it, they say. And that was something else. Ynse is desperately trying to find somewhere to stick his Cymbidiums because they're out. And of course the weather's broken now, there's a lot of rain around, so they're getting soaking wet. And he has his in a more of a soil type based media than I do. I mean, I do have a bit of potting compost in with the bark and the, or either perlite or the rock stuff that I got, granite chips or whatever it is. So mine is quite well drained, and that was because they might have gone outside. Now as it happened they didn't this year, they might never go out again. If they all bloom nicely without going outside, the faff of putting them out there and bringing in scale, slugs, snails, spiders, all that sort of stuff, they all come in with the plants and then they're in here. And they're, you know, it's a big deal. So there could be aphids, you know, if there's buds, so, you know, they may stay in now permanently. And if they're going to bloom like this by being inside all the time, then they're staying in, you know. Get rid of this scale, get them bug free, and then, you know, this will be the place. But anyway, Ynses are getting pretty wet now. And of course, once they start getting wet like that and don't dry out, you can't feed them, you know. Especially if you've got growths maturing and spikes forming, you need to get some nutrients in there, you know. So he's desperately trying to find somewhere in the house to put them, but he's got no space. That's the problem. Big plants with all the space is taken up. He said he's got too many hobbies and they all take up space. Well, yes, that's true. At least the bonsai only take up space outside in the garden. You know, he's got some bonsai trees as well. But yeah, so he's working on it. But it just reminded me that he's got a music room. He's got his electronic drum kit and some amplifications. He's got a mixer. So he's got some kit. And I don't know, he certainly has at least one person comes round so that he's got somebody to make music with. I mean, he has mentioned band practice on some of his videos. Whether that's more than one person, you can have a band of one, can't you? But it's not much fun trying to make music on your own. But it reminded me that I've got a music room sat collecting dust. So I might take the bull by the horns and get back in there and start doing something. It messed me up when I lost the software that I'd collected over a long period of time. I had lots of plugins and all sorts of sound effects and things, all, you know, with the recording software. So even if I wasn't recording, whatever instrument I was using still had all the effects and everything through the headphones. But I might get in there and blow the dust off and see if I can actually get it all going again, you know, get it up and running. And if it was up and running, then on a day when I've got nothing to do out here, because I mean the amount of work in the garden now has gone down to next to nothing. There's no watering to do, not the amount of rain we're getting. You know, there's still a little bit of deadheading to do, but not much. Things are going to start dying back, especially if we're starting to get cold nights now, short days, cold nights. Things start dying back outside as well. So yes, I might get the music room going. I mean, I've got an electronic drum kit up there. I've got my electric 6-string that I bought, which is it's a version very, very similar to the black Stratocaster that the guy in Pink Floyd uses, Dave Gilmour. He also uses a red Strat. but he tends to stick to Stratocasters, and this is the medium grade Stratocaster that was uprated as a special. So there aren't many around for a start, but the pickups were uprated, and the colour scheme and everything matched the David Gilmour Strat, so I got one of those. That was my treat for doing all the not conveyancing, well yeah, part of that, for doing all the stuff to do with Mum's estate when Mum died. So that was my treat. So I've got that, got the electronic drum kit, I've got 6-string electric, there is a full-blown amplifier to go with that, if I need it. But you've got a combination, that's got loads of effects on it, on the amplifier. You can, on the digital part of it, you can dial up a musician. Like I could put in Eric Clapton and it will change the settings to get the guitar to sound like that. You know, so it's quite a clever amplifier. It's all electronic, it's not like real. It certainly doesn't allow you to play like that just because it sounds like it. That'll be the day. But yes, there's an amplifier up there. There is a conversion device which allows you to put in like the output from that amplifier, the output from the drum kit, even the electric guitar plugged in direct into a unit with some controls on that goes straight into a USB into the laptop, which is where the other set of software is. And I've got an acoustic guitar up there, and I've got a microphone, reasonable quality microphone. I got the microphone not necessarily for singing, but so that I could record the acoustic guitar, because it's got no pickup or anything on it. So there's some kit. Oh, and I've got a keyboard. I've got a MIDI keyboard as well, and that it's a very strange thing. It's a MIDI keyboard, which means it's incapable of making a noise. Doesn't matter how hard you hit the keys. It's only a mini like that, but it creates digital sounds, and those sounds would go in through the either direct into the laptop or through the unit I was on about, the conversion unit, into the laptop where all the software is. And that's a lot of the software that I lost, but I've still got some of it. I can make that sound like a full-blown church organ, or I can make it sound like a fully fledged orchestra, or just the strings of an orchestra, or it can be made to sound like a synthesizer. You know, the software allows the production of many different sounds. So, you know, I'd have a keyboard as well. So, you know, there's some stuff up there. It's just a matter of taking each individual unit, setting it up, and make sure it gets through to the laptop into the software to effectively make a layer. The software allows as many layers as you like. So, you know, I could record the acoustic guitar 5 times, all slightly different, or even all the same, which would then sound like 5 acoustic guitars being played together. Same with the electric guitar. I could add a couple of layers on there. I could have a twin lead solo on 2 separate tracks. I have a keyboard backing track, and obviously a drum track. So, you know, if I can get it all fixed up and get it all working, then I'd be more inclined to use it. So that might be coming soon. It's a big effort for me to do it. I mean, to get it all functional, all I've actually got to do is unplug the laptop from down here and walk upstairs and plug it in. And then try and get everything else to talk to the laptop. Do that like a bit at a time. But obviously the laptop can only really stay up there for a relatively short time because it's in use down here a lot of the time. So that might come along as well. Obviously if I'm playing around in the music room I'll stick the camera somewhere, but it won't be very easy to film in there because it's a small room. It's much smaller than here, and obviously there's a field of view that wouldn't be able to get the whole room in. It would only get a portion of the room in. But I mean, I have got like a work desk in there I've got a work desk in front of me, I've got a pair of speakers, I've got a sound system in there as well, which just plugs into the laptop. I wouldn't use that much because I do most of the stuff through the headphones so that I don't disturb next door. And anybody else who's within hearing range. But I could actually use the sound system up there. There's 2 speakers, there's a subwoofer underneath the table. Yeah, so I've got a desk and it's all arranged around a gap. There's a gap in the middle which would be where the laptop gets plonked. And then on the other side I've got the keyboard, got the box with the microphone in, I've got all my CDs in there. Because at one point I thought, if I want to get back into playing the drums, just playing them on their own is tedious. But I thought, if I can get my little CD player, it's just a little, well, it's a little box with a USB cable that's basically a fraction bigger than a CD, but it plays them straight into the laptop again, which would then go through the headphones. So if I could get the drum kit and the CD player into the headphones, then I can play along to music of my choice, and then I would use it again. So it's just a matter of getting up there and getting my bee in gear and actually getting involved in it. The problem will be, oh, and I've got a bass guitar up there as well. I am a bass player. I forgot the main instrument. So I've got a full range up there anyway, but it's a matter of whether we can get it going or not. As I said, it's the software element that's holding me back. I mean, the drum kit works fine. You know, if I just plug the headphones into the drum kit and play them, you know, it's playing out loud as far as my ears are concerned. You know, but it's getting the rest of it all together so that it can be used together. You know, I mean, I could, you know, I could do a full-blown song if I could write something or make something up. You know, with the various tracks all linked in together, and I mean the software's got a compression phase through, which basically blends the music together so that you haven't got any shouty loud bits and some bits you can't hear, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting on with it really. And my cooking video that went up yesterday while I was out all day, or most of the day, didn't get that many views. So although lots of people have said they like the cooking videos, not that many. So we won't be doing loads of them, but that was a new meal, so I thought I'd film it. But I will do one now and again. I will probably, I've got shopping coming this afternoon. That's the point, what's the time? Oh, we're alright. Not 2 o'clock yet. Yeah, I've got some shopping coming this afternoon, and part of that is the stuff to do a spaghetti bolognese. Now, I've filmed that before, but if I'm going to do that, I might not do it today, I might actually do the cooking bit tomorrow. But when I do that cooking, I will film it and put the video to one side. I won't necessarily post it. It might not get posted for weeks, but at least I'll film it while I'm doing that meal. Come on then, nuisance. I wondered when you turn up. Come on, scoot. You going out, go out. Right, the other orchid I wanted to show you was the Masdevallia. The bloom that came out is fading, so that was that one. So that's the old bloom, that'll drop off. But we've got 2 more that have just about opened, and we've got another bud over here. So this one's producing some good flowers. These are very attractive flowers, but I've noticed this bloom here, when we filmed it for Everything in Bloom on the 8th, which was done on the 9th, I zoomed in nice and close so that we could see the freckles. They're not there. When the bloom first opens, those freckles aren't there. They develop as the bloom ages. Now that's an unusual trait, the tiny little spots to develop later in the age of the bloom. So we'll have to wait for those. They're not there now. They appear along the bottom edge of the two lower, whatever those are, petals or sepals, don't know really. Whatever the two lower bits are, the freckles appear on the very bottom edge of that, but they're not there now. And you can't see them on this one because this one's gone over. But yeah, so yeah, 2 more blooms and another one coming. Maybe there'll be more. So that's good. But that's not exactly a new bloom, obviously, because it's that was a first time bloom of that plant as well for me. So I was well pleased with getting some blooms. So yes, we haven't got another huge spike coming up here. That's an odont type. It will be similar to this, not the same, but along those lines. And then there's obviously cymbidiums pushing up spikes. Yeah, and I filmed the Dendrobium infundibulum in the Everything in Bloom video and zoomed in on what I thought was a bud. But when I got it down to water it, it's not. It's where a couple of blooms had already been. So it's not a bud at all, so that's not actually in bud. So man speak with forked tongue. Yeah. Right, so that'll do for today. It's just a waffly chat, no subject matter. I will get back to doing not a care guide as such, but something to do with like a genus of orchids or something like that as the tail end of the Sunday chat. But that needs planning ahead, and I'm not very good at that. Well, certainly not for the Sunday chat anyway. But yeah, as usual on the end, all the thank yous. Thanks for the people who are sticking with the membership, either on the channel or on the Patreon site, and for the recent joiners as well. So thanks for that. Bumped up the membership on both of those. Not shout out time, but you know, relatively recently. So thanks for that, and thanks for those that have stayed. And thanks to the person who upgraded and actually went to a higher tier to gain access to all of the videos. So thanks for doing that. Every little helps, as Tesco say. That's their little catchphrase. But it does, every little helps. These various things coming up. 2 weeks time, Bournemouth Orchid Society show. Well, that's just up the road. My outlay for that, as far as travel and stuff, is negligible because it is just up the road. But I would hope to possibly buy some orchids, you know, see what they've got. Burnham's will be there, Lawrence Hobbs will be there. I'm not sure whether Portland Orchids will actually be selling. Simon Pugh Jones will be there, but whether he's actually selling or not, I don't know. Probably, but we shall see. And then we've got this RHS Rosemore thing, if I go along to that. And then we've got our own Wessex Orchid Society show at the end of October. So there's some things coming up. And as far as videos of shows are concerned, I will be going to the Heathrow Bonsai Show this year. Now, although it's called the Heathrow Bonsai Show, it's not at Heathrow, it's in Bracknell, which is a hell of a lot nearer to me than Heathrow is. But it's the Heathrow Bonsai Society that organise it, and its name is taken from the organisers rather than the venue. It used to be quite close to Heathrow, but that was before I ever went, so I'd never been to that venue. Only the one now. And I haven't been for 2 or 3 years now because it's the day after our Orchid Society show, and I can't do 2 long days like that together. But our Orchid Society show has had to move to the end of October, leaving that weekend free to go to the Heathrow Bonsai show. So I'll be doing some filming there for those interested. That'll go on the other channel, obviously. And yeah, so thanks for watching the videos. If you're not subscribed, it would be nice if you did so. It doesn't cost anything, despite the word giving the implication it costs money. No, it doesn't. It just helps give the channel a bit of a boost, along with the thumbs up, yeah, Unless you really don't like the video, obviously you wouldn't do the thumbs up. But thumbs up helps. It's all interaction with audience, which YouTube loves all that. And watching the videos and getting some ads in, all that sort of stuff, unless you're on premium. If you are on premium, you're still contributing to the creators via an algorithm. So it still happens. And we've now got this new function called hype. You can hype a video. So a little symbol comes up. Now at the moment, I'm reasonably reliably told it's only available on the mobile app. It's not available on PCs and laptops. I can't get at it. I also still have yet to get at it on my phone. I did try. Now it might be that I've got an old version of YouTube on my phone, because I don't use my phone for that sort of thing. And it could have been sat there for quite a few years. It might be worth me perhaps deleting it and going into the App Store and get the latest version out. Come on then, Trouble. Come on then. It's your lunchtime, isn't it? So, yeah, so I've still yet to see it, but apparently it's available on the mobile app, and where you, under the video where the comments bit comes, where you would leave a comment, you effectively swipe it to get access to the hype. This is all what I'm told, because I've still yet to see it. But apparently you either swipe, or there's 3 dots on the comment line or something, which takes you to where the hype is. And the way it works is that to make it fairer, you've got people with less than 500,000 subscribers and more than 500 subscribers. So those are the people that can be hyped. So that obviously includes me. And if you are at the lower end in the subscriber count, you get awarded more points by YouTube to even it out with those that have got much higher subscriber numbers. So there's some sort of adjustment going on by YouTube, and then somewhere you can see the top 10 videos, you know, with the highest value points that have been hyped over a period of a week. I think it is 7 days. I think it starts on either Sunday or Monday, and then it would refresh obviously. But yes, so that helps your creators of the, you know, the video channels that you watch. You're allowed to do 3, and I think it's 3 a week. Now you can hype the same video 3 times if you want, so you'd give a boost to a single channel by doing that. Obviously you can do 3 different channels, but I think you can only use it 3 times in a week. And I presume if the stats are resetting on whatever it is, it's either Sunday or Monday, then your ability to start hyping again, because you've used all your 3, would start on at the same time, I would imagine. So there's still a little bit of looseness around that function, but it does genuinely help the channel and the video. So it helps the channel, and the video that you hype, YouTube is keeping its eye on these points that the hype actually awards. And the more points that are around on a video, the more chance it's going to get onto that list. You know, the videos that are presented to a viewer. So you're watching video A, and over here you've got the chance to watch B, C, D, E, F, G and H. The hype helps get videos onto that list and nearer the top. So it is quite important. And something I always forget to mention is there is a Facebook group that sort of goes with the channel. The link is in the description, as is the link to the Patreon site and the membership for YouTube. All the links are in the description. Every description, not, you know, that's not just on this video. It's a permanent feature basically. But yeah, there is a link to my Facebook group as well. It's a private group as such. You have to join, so you have to become a member of the group to be able to post and everything. And there's a question in the write-up about the channel, about the group, Facebook group. There's some words, you know, sort of my policies about, you know, keep it tidy, keep it clean, no arguing, all that sort of stuff. Otherwise you get chopped. But in amongst there is a question which basically asks how you heard about that Facebook group. If you say you heard about it on YouTube, you're in. Otherwise I start checking you out, you know, what other groups are you a member of and all that sort of stuff, to see if you would be a useful member of the group. Because some people just collect groups. You know, you have a look, they've got 600, and they're a member of 600 and something groups. You can't pop it, you know, if you watched 10 a day you'd never get through them. And what do you spend all day on Facebook? So those sort of people are of no use, especially as virtually all the groups they're a member of are nothing to do with orchids. So I tend to just have a quick look round to see if there's any, see if they're a member of any other orchid related stuff, which means they could be of use. Post some nice pictures and post their problems for people to help out with, which is what the Facebook group's for. So that's there as well. And that'll do for today. How long have we been going? Have we used all the battery up yet? No. Blimey, we're over an hour here. That's getting sidetracked and doing all that music stuff and a bit of politics. Sorry about that. But some people say they like the really long one. And I always say, if you've watched so much and you've had enough, you'll bail out anyway. Yeah? You may come back later and carry on watching or something. You don't have to watch it all at once, do you? I know quite a lot of people use my video as a background noise for when they're watering their own orchids. So they're not necessarily watching the video, but it's playing and they listen. And then if something catches their attention, they might just say, oh, I see, you know. So, as I say, you don't necessarily have to watch, you can just listen. It is a chatty video after all. There wasn't a huge amount to see, a couple of orchids maybe, but anyway, that's it for today. No orchid video tomorrow, being Monday, it's my day off. And I don't think there's any filming to do outside at the moment, so probably won't have anything posted tomorrow on either channel. And then we'll be back on Tuesday with something. And as I said, I've said before, the members' videos are not instead of my normal viewers' videos. They're as well as, but you do need to be a member in one place or the other to view them. But yeah, so on those days when I do a members video, I normally do two. One for everybody, one for the members. So they're not instead of. A lot of people thought, oh, I know what you're going to do. You're going to spend all your time doing members videos and we won't get a look in. Yes, you will. Nothing changes. These are extras, you know, not instead of. So I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for putting up with a waffle. Thanks for the thumbs up, thanks for the subscribing if you think about doing that sort of thing, and a big thanks to everybody who's a member on one of the two places. See you next time, bye for now.